We've recapped World Cup qualifying everywhere but CONCACAF, but I have saved a separate video for CONCACAF because there are so many different special things that happened in CONCACAF qualifying. I couldn't do it any other way. Now I'm gonna level with you. CONCACAF is obviously close to my heart. I know it's a shitty backwater confederation. Shout out my boys Asia. Shout out my boys Africa, Oceania. I hear you, but there's like 12 countries in the whole thing. Okay. I'm talking continents that have never won a World Cup. Maybe you get a few world-class players from there, but And I'm not going to pretend that CONCACAF is better than Africa. I think we all can acknowledge Africa has more good teams than CONCACAF and Asia, maybe even put together, right? But CONCACAF got a gift. Is part of the World Cup expansion. Now, Europe is still 33% of the World Cup. It's been bumped up to 16 teams. South America only has 10 teams, but 6 of them get in automatically with a 7th going to the playoff, which I think is fair. Africa now has 9, which is great because there's a lot of decent teams in Africa that can really be bolstered by being able to go to a World Cup in the first place. Asia gets 8 and sends a team to the playoff as well, same as Africa. And then there's CONCACAF. CONCACAF vibing at 6. 6 and 2 playoff spots for this cycle at least. Now, 3 of those spots are already taken. The U.S., Mexico, and Canada take those spots, and so there are 3 left, right? Which should be a boon for the couple of teams that normally grab that kind of extra spot, whether it be Costa Rica or Honduras or Panama or Jamaica, right? The types of teams that have actual players that play in power leagues consistently and are able to build national teams that in some cases can make deep runs. I mean, Costa Rica was in a World Cup quarterfinal not all too long ago, a place that Mexico has not been in a ridiculously long time, right? Or the United States. Well, actually, the United States has been there more recently, not as recently as Costa Rica in, I think, 2002. Anyways, shout out Costa Rica. Those 3 spots, I assumed, were going to be vacuumed up by those teams. But it was also an assumption that if one of those teams was going to choke, right, one of those presumptive teams was going to fumble the bag, there would be an opportunity for one pretty significant surprise team. Instead, we got 2. Now, this was a wild final day. I actually hosted a watch party, had a few friends over, B. Ford, Lancer, Macwell, other people that live in New York that are generally football enjoyers, to watch 6 matches going on at the same time. Now, one of the matches didn't matter, Trinidad and Tobago and Bermuda, although shout out to Bermuda for getting their first point ever at this stage in qualifying with a 2-2 draw in a complete dead rubber against Trinidad and Tobago. And then, of course, the other match going on in that particular table, which was Jamaica and Curacao. Now, you're looking at this going, damn, 0-0. Must have been boring. The most exciting 0-0 match you have ever seen. Jamaica hit the post 3 times. Curacao dug in like a tick, but also while doing that, managed to create moves and chances that always seem to end with some wild shot getting laced over the bar or something. Right, Curacao actually outshot Jamaica in this match, which is pretty ridiculous. Jamaica hit the post 3 times, so I'm not going to pretend Jamaica didn't kind of get robbed here. And even down to the end, where there was a penalty call. A bad penalty call, granted. Now, I found the call for you. Called a penalty on the field, and VAR came in and announced they would review it. Now, for those that... I'm just getting ahead of myself. I assume everybody knows the stakes here. The winner of this match goes automatically to the World Cup, right? And Curacao is a country that 14 years ago didn't have a national team. It was part of a Netherlands Antilles national team that never really did anything and then kind of disbanded. Curacao formed in 2011. It formed its federation, started its own national team, and is now literally headed to the World Cup thanks to this draw, which there's so many layers to this, right? One, all of these other wild matches were going on at the same time. There was a program that was going on in the U.S. that was switching back and forth between all the matches to try and catch all the action. And depending on what happened, literally any team could have been knocked out of the playoff, could have been knocked out, right? Like everything was up in the air. But in this game, the winner would go and a draw would send Curacao to the World Cup. But it was in Kingston, packed house. And if you saw videos around the stadium, not only was every seat full, there were people, I don't even know how this is happening. There were people sitting on top of the stadium, or all the way around the stadium, to watch this match. This is the biggest national team match Jamaica's played in 28 years. Last time they went to the World Cup was 1998, right? They have bottled World Cup qualification like it is a job ever since then. A la Austria or Norway. In Europe, they're the team that, they're kind of always there in the continental competition, but for some fucking reason, they can't get to the World Cup. Well, this was their chance. And it came down to this call, which was called a penalty on the field, and then reviewed at the monitor, and what ended up being an absolutely outstanding tackle by the Curaçaoan defender here. As you can see, the guy makes a move, gets into the box, and the Curaçaoan defender, right, with 2 minutes left in stoppage time, gets a foot in, gets the ball out, it is waved off, and listen to this. Listen to the celebration on Curaçaoan TV as this call is made. It's so good. I got so many reaction videos to show you, everything here and there. And then this was the moment. Curacao, after that, had to survive for 4 more minutes. Jamaica was all over the place. They were throwing themselves. I mean, it was battle, right? It was 2 of the best teams in the Caribbean doing battle for 1 World Cup spot. And Curacao just I'm not going to spend too long on it. Because I could talk for 45 minutes about how unbelievable it is that Curacao has done this. But I suppose I should do it now to build up to what was happening here. To the celebrations you're about to see. Like I said, 14 years ago, there was no such thing as the Curacao national team. It didn't exist. It was created, right? It's part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, kind of an autonomous island in the south of the Caribbean. Its favorite sport is baseball. It puts a lot of players in Major League Baseball, and Curacao basically alone, but kind of combined with Aruba, is the reason the Netherlands does well at the World Baseball Classic every time and has a very competitive international baseball team. This whole soccer football thing is new to them. But when they created the federation, they went, you know what? There are about 150,000 Dutch descendant or Curaçaoan descendant people in the Netherlands, right? It's free movement between the 2 countries. This is a large diaspora. It's about the same size as the population of the country on the island. And they went, you know what? Here's the plan. We're going to build it top down. We're going to build the database to find the best Curaçaoan descendant players in the world, but obviously concentrated in the Netherlands. We're going to build that database. We're going to create a successful federation or an appealing federation, right? Good travel, good facilities, good coaches. I mean, Dick Advocat's the coach here. We're going to do all that, and we are going to recruit the hell out of Curaçaoan descendant players in the Netherlands. And it worked. I mean, this is top down and bottom up. You build fields in Curacao, which they have done. You put coaches in Curacao, and you start building that next generation and giving the kids on the island the chance to play. And then you give them a team to dream to be on. And this is the team to dream to be on. I mean, look, you say, oh, well, there's 150,000 Curaçaoans in the Netherlands. There's 150,000 of them on the island. That's only 300,000 people. If you combine the diaspora of Curacao with the actual population of the country, it's still the smallest country to ever make the World Cup. Jamaica's got 3 million people. Jamaica's got footballers in the Prem. Curacao doesn't have that. They have Tahith Chong. You wouldn't even hear. He's hurt or something. But they built the team of the best Curaçaoan descendant players they could find. And they're using that team to try and inspire the next generation that they're going to develop of kids on the island, as well as obviously now Curaçaoan descendant people all over the world that are going to be, I mean, this is like a beacon going up to call back to the motherland. Even if you don't live in Curacao, to be like, I am Curaçaoan. It is a flag planted in the ground to announce your identity to the world, basically. I mean, nobody knew what Curacao was. I grew up in Florida, right? You're basically sticking into the Caribbean. And I was not quite sure where Curacao was for a long time. I've been there now. I have been to Curacao, and let me tell you, it is not very big. I drove around the whole thing. I looked it up. It's about the same size as Andorra, physically. So it is also by landmass the smallest country to ever make it to the World Cup. It is remarkable what they achieved. To pull this team together, to build this database, to build the coaching staff and the facilities and just the apparatus and the amount of time that they've had to be able to do this. I mean, Jamaica is a giant of the Caribbean. Jamaica has been to the semifinals of the Gold Cup 4 times in the last decade. They're one of the best teams in CONCACAF. They have been for a long time. Yeah, they bottle World Cup qualifying like it's their job, but this was their time. I mean, this group was Trinidad and Tobago and a dream in Jamaica. And then Curacao has just, they've stolen it. It's like they're way ahead of schedule. I'm sure they don't even know what to do at this point. And this isn't even the only unbelievable story I'm going to tell you as part of this video, but here is them finding out that the match is over. I mean, the scenes are wild. Obviously, the scenes of pain for Jamaica are unbelievable. There's so many funny takes and stuff from Jamaican people. I need to find one of them. It was my favorite tweet from the entire night. CONCACAF Twitter is exceptional, but this was bar none my favorite tweet from the entire night. I actually think I responded to it. About 500 people live in Curacao, and 22 of them decided to jump on a plane and come ruin my life, which that's how Jamaica feels, obviously. Because there's a flip side to this. Jamaica was finally supposed to stop bottling the World Cup and make it. Well, they didn't beat Curacao in 2 attempts. In fact, Curacao beat them in Willemstad, which is the capital of Curacao, by the way, which is something you should now know because this is a World Cup qualifying nation. And hell, I don't think they're going anywhere either. Because Curaçao's fighting with one hand tied behind its back. They don't even have, they've got one dude on this team born on the island. That's half of their available population. And before you go, well, surely Curaçao's not going to. Curacao produces a lot of very good baseball players. This is an island that has its shit together, that has an amazing sporting culture, and now has a reason to give a shit about soccer. That, like, there's going to be a generation of Curaçaoan players that are born in Curacao, and there's probably going to be 1 or 2 of them that end up playing in top 5 leagues around the world that come out of this. Because they choose soccer over baseball because of this. And there are the fields, and there's the infrastructure, and the network, and the belief. I mean, the belief is such a huge part of it. So many countries suffer from a lack of belief. If you're a kid growing up in Curacao and you're interested in soccer, hot damn. You're just watching your team just walk into the World Cup, get this huge result against Jamaica. You're going to see your team play Spain or Brazil or something at the World Cup. That's the impact that has on a nation like Curacao is impossible to imagine. Not only is it representing them on that stage, but the spark that Curacao is going to have. Like, I just don't see a world, especially with the pipeline that Curacao has the ability to develop play. If you come from the island of Curacao and you stand out in the Curaçaoan League, you can instantly go to the Netherlands. There's no green card. There's no, boom. You got a development pipeline. And bro, if I am a club in the Netherlands, I'm setting up a little satellite club in Curacao because you gotta know that that's coming. And all of that's going to be sick. I think all of it's awesome. All of it is just absolutely awesome. I have absolutely no idea what's happened to freaking Jamaica. But hey, let's watch some celebrations. What do you say? Locker room first? Yeah, why not? Also, just for the record, this guy, not this guy, this guy, that's the Prime Minister of Curacao. Actually. And I'm just happy because the Caribbean vibe is making a return to the World Cup. I mean, the Caribbean has been pushing against a wall, really, trying to get football back on the map. The Caribbean has talented footballers, but there's really no pipeline, and the leagues are diffuse. And you've got a late, in my opinion, sleeping giants in nations like Haiti, who we're going to get to in a second. But just the Caribbean culture is a cultural area, much the same as Uzbekistan making it for Central Asia, that just has not been represented since Trinidad and Tobago at the World Cup. And now Curacao is going to be able to go and represent that Caribbean music, the culture, the vibe. And they're not the only one. And they're not the only one in a way that is so unbelievably touching to me. But there's a lot of potential Caribbean stuff going on here, which is great. But I'm going to take you around to the next match. The next match you got to pay attention to as we bring it back up here is Haiti and Nicaragua. Haiti came into this knowing they needed to win and they needed help to get to the World Cup. And they scored early. 9th minute goal for Haiti, who is playing their home matches in Curacao, actually, because Curacao was on the road. So this was a nice, Haiti can't play at home, but a nice bit of Haitian representation in Curacao. There's some people in the stands, at least. They scored an early goal, scored again before the half. They didn't score a third goal, which made me a little scared. As a result, this meant that if Honduras won 1-0 in Costa Rica, that they would take the automatic World Cup spot and Haiti would end up going to the playoff in that situation. But Honduras never scored. Honduras never scored. So it didn't matter. I don't know what Honduras was doing. It's one of the most confusing matches I've probably ever seen, because Costa Rica needed to win. Honduras likely needed to win. The way the other matches were going, a draw was just not enough based off goal difference and other things. And this is after Honduras lost 2-0 to Nicaragua, the team that Haiti just went and beat 2-0. In their, this window, Honduras came in the lead in the group and got 1 point from 2 matches and just fumbled everything. They ended up fumbling a playoff spot too. But the way they did that is so unbelievable. I'm going to get to that later because we got to talk about Haiti now. The Haitian national team is a national team in exile. They have not played a home match in 4 years since the president was assassinated and the country just spiraled into disarray. Haiti obviously had problems before that. The earthquake knocked out a lot of the infrastructure and really damaged the society as a whole, killed hundreds of thousands of people. But it was the assassination of the president. Now the capital is owned by gangs. If you're wondering what the hell's going on, why am I getting a lecture on Haiti in general from some random dude? I did a documentary on a Haitian team, the best Haitian team, Real Hope FA. They played against Cruz Azul in the CONCACAF Champions Cup knockouts. And that was a really fun story to cover, obviously. But I spent a week with a bunch of dudes that live in Haiti and just learned a lot about Haiti in general. Because to be perfectly honest, that's not a place where you usually get to interact with people that actually live there. You interact with news and intellectuals and like maybe a journalist that went there, but people that are born and raised and have never lived anywhere else in Haiti, right? Being able to tell you how it's actually going, and it's not going well. It is not. There is essentially, especially away from certain parts of the capital, there is no functioning central government in this country. It is a governmental black hole. It's a failed state. At least in the way that is defined. I don't think it's a failed state because the Haitian identity is unbelievably strong. It is one of the most unique countries on the face of the earth. As somebody that has been to over 50 countries, Haiti is one of the most unique countries anywhere. It is the only successful slave rebellion ever to establish complete independence. And that whole story and that whole war is they're so damn proud of their country. As much as their country has been screwed, and I mean fucked. France came back at one point and made them pay reparations that they had to pay until 1947. The United States was there, just dicking around as the U.S. does. I mean, just think about the Independence War alone. They had to fight France, Spain, and England. All of them tried to stop them, basically. And what is also overlooked in Haitian history is even though Haiti has not been a functioning republic for a long time, it has been a much more stable country in living memory. If you talk to older Haitians, like Zanunu, the guy that we interviewed in the documentary, it was and part of when it was a functioning country is 1974, when Haiti made the World Cup, or early 70s. The only time Haiti's ever been to the World Cup, when it was, kind of a dictatorship, but it was it was a safer, more prosperous, more successful country. Certainly not a failed state. And they made the World Cup. And that felt like some weird fever dream to all of them, right? That had happened. Or, a lot of the younger guys that were on the team don't even remember a Haiti where that sort of thing was possible, where functional anything was possible. You just kind of work with your peers, you work with your neighbors. It's just fascinating to hear about. And I obviously could also talk about it for an incredibly long time. The reason I'm telling you all of this, out of my personal experience, is to illustrate to you how much this means. Because people say that. Like, oh, it means a lot to Scotland, or it would mean a lot to Jamaica, or it would mean a lot to the U.S. if we went far. There is another level. When you are from a country that has just... and I talked to people from Haiti about this. There's just no good news. All they're trying to do, even the freaking club team that I was with, Real Hope, was like, we want to beat Cruz Azul because it would give these people who are awesome, who we love, this culture that is great, that is just trapped in this cycle of just shit all of a sudden over the last 10, 15 years. It would give them something to be proud of. Like they're just starving for something to be proud of outwardly again, because they are so proud. They are the proud, and I am from the U.S., they are the proudest people I have ever met. And now they've got it. They're going to the World Cup. It's pretty miraculous, obviously. They played 0 home matches as part of the qualifying. They always have work permit issues and and visa issues with trying to get players out of Haiti, which they want to do because those guys can play. They just can't go anywhere. I've watched them play. I watched them outplay Cruz Azul for more than half the match. But they can't, those guys struggle to go with the national team. The last World Cup is a great example. They had a home and away with Canada in the home match where they were able to pick a Caribbean island where their guys could go play. They won. Well, they didn't win. I think it was a draw. Then they had to go on the road against Canada, and their first 2 goalkeepers weren't available. Other members of their roster couldn't go. And they lose by 3 goals to Canada because they got this watered-down team. And I'm sure at certain points in this qualifying, they were dealing with the same thing. Even though nobody cares, it doesn't get any press. If somebody on freaking Spain couldn't get a visa to go somewhere, it'd be front page news, right? But obviously people just don't know that. It doesn't enter the picture of going, well, that's why Haiti lost, because Haiti's just supposed to be bad. Haiti's supposed to be some fucked up little corner of the world that you don't have to pay attention to. And they're now making you pay attention to it. 13 million people live there. All of them were dancing in the damn street. This is in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. 85%, according to estimates, of Port-au-Prince is owned by gangs. There's an active gang war going on. They parceled up the city, right? This is why they can't play there. They can't, nothing. This is the streets of this gang war city after the World Cup. Shout out to my boy just carrying a chair, by the way. Sometimes you just got to find something to hold. This is the next day. They're still going. It's just special. Obviously, I'm trying to get you to care about it as much as I do because I have a special connection to Haiti, and I texting people last night after they qualified, and they can't believe it, and it's a magic moment for them. Like a potential healing, cultural, pivotal moment for a country that needed it. Not needed it, like needed it. This has the opportunity to bridge divides that have become otherwise impassable, and to help one of history's great people, one of history's great stories return to a point where it is able to function again. That it has the possibility to do that. And it's just an amazing story. And there is an incredible video that shows the speech given by Duckins Nazon in the dressing room before the game, where he said, these people, they might not have anything. Their happiness depends on our feet, and our feet have to give it to them. Something to that effect. And they did. They did. Haiti finished ahead of Honduras. They finished ahead of Costa Rica against all of the odds in a pretty tough group as far as CONCACAF goes. They qualified for the World Cup. And it is so freaking awesome that they did. But back to Honduras and Costa Rica, because what the fuck? In the third group, it was Suriname and Panama. Suriname was just above Panama. Panama didn't give a shit about that. They came out at home and just blew out El Salvador. Panama's national stadium is amazing. The crowd pops are insane. The place was rocking from the start. Panama's going to its second ever World Cup with a rousing win. And the reason that they're going, obviously, is because Suriname did not win. In fact, Guatemala, after a 0-0 first half, scored 3 goals in 16 minutes that could best be described as the worst 16 minutes of football ever played by Suriname. And I can say that with confidence, even though I have not really ever watched Suriname play before. Guatemala just made them look pedestrian. Suriname, after the first goal, looked like they'd lost their spirit, they'd lost their fight, they'd lost heart, which was unbelievable. Because even though Suriname wasn't winning, because of the draw between Honduras and Costa Rica, Suriname was still in the playoff. Now, they seem to be super depressed because they thought they might be going to the World. You know, if they won this game, even still, if Suriname had won this match 1-0 based off the score in the Panama game, Suriname would be going to the World Cup right now. But to be honest, Guatemala is probably a better team, right? They made the semifinals at the last Gold Cup. You know who didn't? Suriname. Okay, so it's not like a road trip to Guatemala is an easy match, and the betting favorite, is Guatemala in this situation. Like, who's more likely to win this game if you remove the World Cup qualifying specter? It'd be Guatemala. And Guatemala's already out. Very disappointed by that. They're 4 points behind Suriname. I'm sure they're kicking themselves because they just beat the hell out of Suriname. But this third goal was huge because all of a sudden with this third goal for Guatemala, Suriname in the middle of this complete fucking meltdown, Honduras moves into the second playoff spot, the top one being Jamaica. They're on 10 points, great goal difference. Honduras now on 9 points with their goal difference. And Suriname had a pretty damn good goal difference that's being melted away by these 3 goals. This third goal put Honduras in the playoff and put Suriname out. But nobody seemed to realize it. It was driving me crazy. Right? Like the announcers started to figure it out, but the Surinamese team didn't realize it, and Honduras was time wasting. Reminder, if Honduras scores a goal, they go to the World Cup automatically. They take the spot Haiti got. But of course, if Honduras goes for too much and Costa Rica scores a goal, Honduras is basically out. Costa Rica needs that goal, so they should be pushing anyways. Maybe Honduras was hoping they'd keep pushing and then hit them on the counter. But I'm sure word got passed down that Guatemala was given Suriname hands, and all of a sudden Honduras just needed a draw to get in through the playoff. Not because Panama was losing, but because Suriname was losing by a lot, which was not really one of the mathematical possibilities that we considered at the time, going into the day. If you're wondering what I'm talking about with second place teams, if you finish second in your group, you just had to avoid being the worst of 3 second place teams because the top 2 second place teams go to the playoff, the intercontinental playoff. So that's where Jamaica's going. And then it was Suriname or Honduras. And then indubitably, the most CONCACAF way possible, Suriname breaks forward in the 93rd minute of the match, in a match that is over, in a match where seemingly nobody has any idea that that they're 1 goal away from still being alive for the World Cup. Remember, a trip to a World Cup playoff is the same thing that had Ireland literally exploding in celebration. Geraldo Becker, who is Suriname's best player, he plays for Osasuna in La Liga, brings the ball up the wing and does this. Whips it in. It ramps off the back of a Guatemalan player in the 93rd minute and goes in. No reaction from the Suriname players. They're so depressed that they're not automatically going to the World Cup. And based off, how much math and random shit's going into this, I really don't think they knew that this goal put them in the playoff. You can hear at this point the announcer does know this because you've had about 20 minutes to figure out where the playoffs are after that third goal by Guatemala. And with that goal, Honduras' World Cup is over. And in this unbelievably depressing 0-0 in Costa Rica, where Costa Rica, one of the giants of CONCACAF, fails to qualify in third. Honduras, one of the better teams in CONCACAF, fails to qualify because They just showed a lack of ambition. I mean, look at the freaking XG in this game. There were 6 shots on target total in this entire match. Where's the desire? I'm sorry, but if Honduras' plan was to just wait for Suriname to lose 3-0, it's a shitty plan. And it's probably not going to happen. You got to go out and you got to take it. That's what Haiti did. They went out and won. And they went, hey, guess what? You got to go win too. And Honduras couldn't do it. Neither could Jamaica. So now all of a sudden, these two teams, two of the most recognizable non-US, Mexico, or Canada teams in CONCACAF, are not going to the World Cup. Fucking Suriname joins Jamaica in the Intercontinental Playoff. Suriname, who is 123rd in the world, by the way. I think they would set the record for the worst qualifier. That means the playoff is now Iraq and DR Congo, who get a bye to the final. And then some combination of Jamaica, Bolivia, Suriname, and New Caledonia, who are going to get drawn in a semifinal match to get the right to play either Iraq or DR Congo. That's amazing. Can't wait for that. It's going to happen in March in Mexico, same time as the European playoff is going on. But this was such a depressing, unbelievably bad game. And I'll just say it. Their lack of ambition, they deserved that Suriname own goal. And unbelievable for the Caribbean. But remember how I said Caribbean representation wasn't there? We now have 2 Caribbean teams headed to the World Cup with Haiti and Curacao. And there is another pair of Caribbean teams going to the playoff in Suriname and Jamaica. Suriname, if you're wondering why I'm referring to them as a Caribbean team, they're involved in the Caribbean Football Federation. Those 3 countries on the north coast of South America are very culturally Caribbean and are just considered a part of the Caribbean if you're from this part of the world, basically. So Suriname is a Caribbean nation in that sense. Jamaica, obviously one of the premier ones. They're now going to the playoff. CONCACAF producing some of the finest storylines of this entire World Cup. 2 massive qualifying upsets in Curacao and Haiti, who are both 82nd and 84th in the world. I think outside of New Zealand, the 2 lowest world-ranked teams to make the World Cup, just shithousing their way there, and who cares? I'll leave you with, since I didn't get to talk about them a bunch, this is in Panama City after the qualification. They're all just honking, like just a cacophony of noise. And that's the thing, even for the nations that I'm not locking in on and talking about that don't have particularly amazing stories. I mean, Panama going to a second World Cup in 3 editions. I mean, it means the world. It's the biggest sporting thing that can happen for these countries, and I'm happy that it's happened for these new ones as well.